Okay, so picture this. You're at the grocery store, cart overflowing, ready to check out. But here's the catch. Instead of paying at the end, you have to wait for each item to be scanned and then get paid for that single item before the cashier can move on to the next one.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a logistical nightmare.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds pretty painful.
Well, it's kind of like that when it comes to managing payments in clinical trials when the teams aren't in sync.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
So today, we're going to deep dive into why a smooth payment process relies on the budget, payments, and data teams working together,
Right.
like a well-rehearsed orchestra.
That's a great analogy because misaligned finances in clinical trials can create that kind of checkout line chaos.
Exactly.
You've got budget teams working from their projections, data teams focused on milestones, and then the payment teams just trying to make sure everyone actually gets paid.
Right, trying to keep all the plates spinning.
Exactly. And if those groups aren't speaking the same language, using the same playbook, things can unravel pretty quickly. And nobody wants a payment headache,
Right.
especially not the clinical trial sites who are doing the crucial work.
Absolutely. They're the ones on the front lines.
Our sources really highlight how payment delays in clinical trials can set off this domino effect.
Yeah, one common pain point is that payments are often tied to very specific data milestones,
Like what kind of milestones?
like when a certain number of patients complete a visit, or when data is entered into the electronic data capture system, the EDC.
Okay, so EDC, that's basically the central hub where all the trial data lives.
Right, exactly. It's like the brain of the trial.
Gotcha. So let's say the budget team and the data team, they aren't quite aligned on these EDC milestones. What happens then?
It's like a communication breakdown. The data team might be hitting all their targets, diligently entering data into the EDC,
Yeah.
but the budget team hasn't allocated funds for that particular stage of the trial.
Oh, I see.
Or maybe they're working off an old version of that budget
Yeah.
and haven't factored in any changes to the trial protocol.
Yeah, things change.
They do. And the result? Delays, finger pointing, and just a lot of frustration for everyone.
That's exactly the grocery store scenario I was picturing. Everyone's stuck in line getting impatient, and the cashier's looking stressed, trying to manage it all.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Definitely. And the clinical trial sites start feeling the pressure when those payments are delayed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Imagine you're an investigator leading a site. You're working hard to recruit patients, collect data, keep the trial running smoothly. But then you're constantly chasing down payments, not knowing when those funds are going to arrive.
No, yeah, that would be awful.
It is. It creates a huge amount of stress, not just for the site staff, but also for the patients who are participating in the trial.
Because that financial uncertainty trickles down, right? It impacts everyone involved.
It does. And research actually shows that financial insecurity can lead to increased stress, anxiety, even depression.
Wow, so it's not just an inconvenience, it's a real health concern.
Exactly. So for these sites, predictable payments are more than just a matter of convenience. They actually contribute to a healthier work environment and can improve the overall quality of the trial.
It makes total sense. I mean, if I was working on a project and had no clue when or if I was going to get paid, it would definitely impact my motivation and my ability to focus.
All right, you need that sense of security to do your best work.
Okay, so it sounds like predictability is key, right? Knowing when those payments are coming and what needs to happen to trigger them.
Exactly. That's where those clear ta-da moments for payment come in.
Ta-da moments.
Yes. Think of it like this. Instead of that chaotic grocery checkout line, imagine a beautifully choreographed dance.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
Everyone knows the steps, the timing is perfect,
Yeah.
and there's this sense of flow and harmony.
A well-oiled machine.
Exactly. That's what we're aiming for with clinical trial payments.
So how do we actually choreograph this payment dance? How do we create those ta-da moments in the first place?
It all starts with the clinical trial agreement, the CTA.
Ah, the contract.
Basically, it's the contract between the trial sponsor and the site, and it needs to clearly outline the payment timeline, the specific milestones that trigger each payment, and any conditions that need to be met.
So no surprises.
Right? No surprises, no ambiguity, just crystal clear expectations for everyone.
So the CTA is like the sheet music for our payment dance. It sets the tempo, keeps everyone on beat.
Exactly. And this upfront clarity not only makes the payment process smoother, but it also fosters trust between the sponsor and the sites. When everyone's on the same page, it creates a much more collaborative and positive working relationship.
So we've got our sheet music, our dancers are ready to go, but we all know that even the most meticulously planned dance routine can sometimes hit a snag.
Oh, for sure. We have to remember that clinical trials are dynamic. Things rarely go exactly according to plan. Timelines shift. Unexpected costs can pop up.
Like someone throws in a curveball.
Yeah, exactly. And those beautifully choreographed steps might suddenly turn into a bit of improvisation.
Okay, so being able to think on our feet is important.
It's essential. Just like those adaptable dancers, we need to be flexible with our budgeting and payment planning.
Speaking of budgeting, it's tempting to create this super detailed, super precise budget at the beginning of a trial. But how realistic is that?
Well, think about those New Year's resolutions we all make.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit the gym every day, eat perfectly healthy.
Oh, I know those resolutions.
They start with the best of intentions, but often life gets in the way.
Yeah, I'm still working on that whole daily gym thing myself.
Budgeting for a clinical trial can be a bit like that. We might start with these really optimistic projections, but the reality is things change. Protocols get amended. Patient recruitment might be slower or faster than expected. And all those variables impact the budget.
So it's not about setting a budget and then just sticking to it no matter what.
Right. It's about acknowledging that the initial budget is a starting point, a framework. But we need to be prepared to make adjustments as we go.
To pivot when we need to.
Exactly.
So how do we make sure those adjustments happen effectively?
Communication.
Forgot.
Communication. It's essential for everyone involved in the financial aspects of the trial to be talking constantly.
Okay, so constant communication is key. What else?
Well, the budget team needs real-time updates from the sites. The data team needs to be flagging any milestones that might impact payments. And the payments team needs to communicate clearly with everyone about any changes to the payment schedule.
It's like this constant feedback loop, making sure everyone's informed and adjustments are made collaboratively.
That's it. Exactly like managing a complex project with tons of moving parts.
Right. You've got to stay agile.
You do. You need to keep your finger on the pulse, anticipate potential roadblocks, and be willing to course correct as needed. And just like in project management, communication is absolutely key.
Okay, so we've got clear ta-da moments defined in the CTA, we've got a flexible budgeting strategy in place, and we've got open communication flowing between all the teams. It sounds like we're on the right track to creating a smoother and more predictable payment experience for those clinical trial sites.
We're definitely moving in the right direction.
Yeah. That's good to hear. Because when those sites feel confident in the payment process, they can focus their energy on what really matters, conducting the trial, collecting high-quality data, and ultimately advancing medical research.
Absolutely. It's about creating an environment where everyone can thrive and contribute to the success of the trial.
Right, a win-win for everyone. But let's get real for a second. How do we actually make sure those sites are happy and those payments are made on time every single time?
The answer might seem obvious, but it's something that's surprisingly often overlooked.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
It all boils down to communication.
Communication again.
Again, but not just any communication. It has to be timely and transparent communication from the payments team.
So no more radio silence from the finance department.
Exactly. Sites need to know where their money is, when they can expect it, and if there are any delays or changes to the payment schedule.
Okay, so it's about setting clear expectations and then keeping those sites in the loop every step of the way.
Exactly. It's like when you're working on a project with a friend.
Yeah.
You set a clear timeline, you keep them updated on your progress, and you let them know if anything changes.
Right. It just makes sense.
It does. It manages expectations and helps avoid any unnecessary stress or confusion.
And builds trust too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just like with those personal projects, predictable payments build trust and strengthen relationships.
Makes sense.
When sites feel valued and respected, and they see that their financial contributions are being acknowledged promptly, they're much more likely to stay engaged and committed to the trial.
So it's not just about the money. It's about building strong, collaborative relationships.
It is. It's about creating a positive feedback loop that encourages everyone to work together toward that common goal.
So paint me a picture. What happens when sites don't have to constantly chase down payments and ask, where's my money? What does that world look like?
Well, for starters, you eliminate a major source of stress and frustration for everyone involved. Imagine a world where sites can just focus on their research, knowing that the financial side of things is being handled smoothly and efficiently.
Yeah, it takes a huge weight off their shoulders.
It does. It frees up their time and energy to dedicate to the science, which is a win for everyone.
Definitely. And for the payments team.
It allows them to move away from this reactive firefighting mode
Yeah.
and transition into a more proactive management approach.
Okay. That sounds way more sustainable.
It is. It's about working smarter, not harder.
Right. So we've got clear payment triggers, flexible budgeting that can adapt to real-world changes, and this ongoing open communication between all the teams. It sounds like we're creating a much smoother, more predictable, and ultimately more successful payment experience.
We're definitely on the right track.
Yeah.
But like with any system, there's always room for improvement.
And as technology keeps evolving, I imagine there are some really exciting tools and systems emerging that can help us take this to the next level.
Oh, absolutely. Technology is changing the game when it comes to clinical trial finance.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, think about all the time and energy we spend manually tracking payments, reconciling data, trying to keep everything organized.
Ugh, spreadsheets. It's a love-hate relationship.
I know, right? But what if we could automate a lot of those manual processes?
Oh, that would be amazing.
What if we could integrate our financial management systems directly with the EDC so that those ta-da moments in the data automatically trigger payment actions in the financial system?
So no more manually transferring data back and forth.
Exactly. It would be like having a virtual assistant who never forgets a deadline and always knows when it's payday.
That sounds like a dream come true for both the finance and the data teams.
It is. It's all about working smarter, not harder.
No more late nights reconciling data or chasing down missing payments. Sign me up.
Right. This is where automation really shines. It has the potential to transform the way we manage clinical trial finances, making the whole process more efficient, more accurate, and more transparent.
It's like taking a giant leap forward from those old school paper ledgers to a fully integrated digital system.
It is. And it's not just about making things easier. It's also about improving compliance.
Ah, compliance. That's a word that can send shivers down anyone's spine.
I know. But it's such a crucial part of clinical trials. And when your budgets and payments are misaligned, it can create a compliance nightmare.
Definitely not the kind of surprise anyone wants.
Exactly. And that's why this collaborative approach we've been talking about, with the budget, payments, and data teams all working in sync, is so important for compliance.
It's like having built-in checks and balances, right?
Yes, exactly, to make sure that your financial data aligns with what's actually happening in the trial.
So it's about being proactive and catching potential issues early on.
Yes, rather than scrambling to fix them when the auditors come knocking.
And that peace of mind when the auditors do arrive is priceless.
Oh, absolutely. Good financial practices lead to fewer surprises, less stress, and a much smoother audit process.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Clear ta-da moments for payments, flexible budgeting, open communication between teams, and the power of automation to streamline the entire process. Sounds like a solid foundation for successful clinical trial finance.
It's a great start, but there's always more we can do to optimize this whole financial ecosystem.
Always room for improvement, right? So what's the next frontier? What are we missing?
Well, the next piece is all about leveraging the power of data.
Data, data, data. It's everywhere these days.
And for good reason. It holds so much potential.
Okay, so we're not just talking about collecting data for the trial itself, but also about actually analyzing the data from our financial processes to identify trends and opportunities for improvement.
Exactly. It's about using data to make smarter decisions.
I like it. So what kind of insights can we actually glean from this financial data? Give me an example.
Sure. Let's say you're analyzing payment trends, and you notice that certain sites consistently require faster payments. Maybe it's due to their location or the types of patients they serve.
Okay, that makes sense. Different sites might have different needs.
They do. And that's valuable information that can inform your payment scheduling for future trials.
So it's about learning from our experiences and using that data to refine our processes and become more efficient.
Exactly. And the beauty of data is that it can reveal hidden patterns and trends that we might not even be aware of.
It's like having a detective on our team, right? Helping us uncover clues and solve mysteries.
I love that analogy. And when it comes to financial data, there are a lot of mysteries just waiting to be solved.
Okay, so what other mysteries could we potentially solve with this financial data? What other insights are we missing?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. And that's what we'll be diving into in our next episode.
Excellent. I can't wait to hear more about that. To our listeners, stay tuned. We'll be back soon with more insights into the world of clinical trial finance.
We'll see you then.